you came to America when you were 2 or hardly 2. I was wondering, what was your first musical memories? Musical, you know, what music did your parents play?
My parents were very musical, both my father's family and my mother's, but my father brought my mother and I to Miami, and then he left to train for Bay of Pigs invasion, so we were alone. And when we left Cuba, they wouldn't let us take anything. So little by little, my grandmother started sending my mom's records whenever she could with someone that would come to the city. And the first records I remember, because I would sit and look at them and listen to them constantly, was Orquesta Aragon, Cachao, which is on this record, so to me it's such a thrill to have him on. Okay. Celia Cruz, Olga Guillot, all the great Cuban musicians and singers that my mother listened to. Then after that was Johnny Mathis, that my mother fell in love with when she came to the United States and would play him. And then when I started playing guitar at 8 years old, I would learn really old Cuban music from my old Cuban guitar teacher for my grandma, because she was my only audience, and I would sing songs from the 20s, 30s, and 40s in Cuba. So that was my very, very first influence.
Yeah. So when you were young, the American culture wasn't directly. It wasn't that you directly went to, you know, the Western pops.
The American culture really did not become a part of my life until my dad came back from Bay of Pigs after being a political prisoner for 2 years there, in the exchange that Kennedy made. My father came out and he joined the Army, the American Army. So we moved to Texas. And when I went to first grade, 6 years old, I started, in school I was the only Hispanic in the class and I didn't speak English, but within 6 months I won the reading award, so I learned very, very quickly. And at that time is when I started listening to then, my first song that I remember, pop song, that made my hair stand up on my arm, was Ferry Cross the Mersey by Jerry and the Pacemakers, the British invasion beginning. And only now I realize that the reason that song got me so much is because it's a bolero. It has bongos, it's got maracas, it's got the clave. So here you, and the Beatles, Till There Was You, also was a bolero. So you have these British acts, you know, getting a little bit of exotic things for them, but to me it was the most natural thing in the world. And then I started listening, and then it was Stevie Wonder, Elton John, Carole King. All the songwriters were really a big influence for me.
Yeah, okay. So there's, but really the first thing were, the Cuban music?
Cuban music was the first thing I ever learned.
Can you describe the vibe from Cuban music in a few words? What is the special thing about that?
It makes you move. I think the rhythm, because it's African in its core. Most of the Cuban rhythms that you hear, and most of the rhythms in Latin America, are very deeply influenced by African music and African rhythms. And these drums were the first communication in the world. So I really think that the reason that music, you know, can cross over is because it gets us at a very, you know, basic level, and it makes you move. You may not know the specifics of how to dance it, but it's very happy music. It makes you feel good, and it's infectious. It makes you want to shake your body somehow.
Yeah. Okay. And well, even now, where do you feel? Where's your heart musically, and personally?
My heart is all over the place.
Yeah.
I have the great, you know, joy and privilege of having distinctly two cultures that shaped me. The very first one, my Cuban culture, very alive in me, because Cubans, since we don't have our homeland, we cling very much to those traditions and anything that smells or tastes of that longing that we have for that country that I was born in but don't really know. And of course our parents filled us with so many beautiful ideas about the Cuba that they knew. At the same time, I'm American, but I grew up in Miami, which is a totally different city in the United States. It allowed me to be really in both cultures at the same time. So it depends. I can create anywhere along that spectrum, and it truly is who I am. But the beginning, the core, obviously, is the Latin. That's very much a part of me.
Yeah, your first language. Is English now your first language, or?
My first language was Spanish, but they wouldn't let me take Spanish lessons in school because I knew too much Spanish from what they taught. So I studied English and French. So if I had to, you know, write a thesis, I would do it in English, because that is the language that I really know very well, grammatically and everything. But for the love songs and things like that, or arguing, Spanish is great.
Yeah. Why didn't they let you study Spanish?
Because I knew too much Spanish. The Spanish that they had at the time when when I went to school was not the Spanish that they teach my daughter now, for example. Now she has Spanish for Spanish-speaking kids. At the time in school, in public school, they had, the Spanish was only for people that spoke no Spanish. It was, you know, very simple phrases. So I would have had an advantage over everyone in the class.
Yeah.
So they couldn't teach me anything there. And it wasn't until many years later that there was a big, big influence of Latins that Spanish really became a subject in school that they would teach. Like my daughter knows probably better Spanish than I do at this point.
Okay. Would you say that the language is for you is very perfect for a love song?
Yes.
So it's more the language of the
the heart. Yes. I say that I have a Cuban heart and an American head because in business and in things of this nature and in writing my books, I write them first in English when I've written the children's books, and then I rewrite them in Spanish. But first, my mind will write in English, although I do dream in both languages, so it's still part of me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but your new album, 90 Miles, what's it in Spanish?
In Spanish first only.
Yeah, but I mean, no, what is 90?
Oh, what does it mean, 90 millas?
Yeah, okay.
90 millas is the distance between Cuba and Key West, the southernmost point. So really it's the water that has divided my husband and me and a lot of Cubans from their homeland. If you lived in Florida, of course, a lot of Cubans have lost their lives in those 90 miles. Probably 50% of the people that have tried to leave by raft or by small vehicles or small boats have lost their lives. A lot of people came to a new life on those 90 miles. So it's a very, a lot of significance for Cubans, that distance. But to us, what we're saying on this record is that 90 miles cannot separate us from our heritage, both musically and culturally, and it is still very much alive in us. And we, you know, there's a lot of songs on there that extend a hand to the Cubans on the island and say we still think of you and remember you and you're still a part of us.
Yeah, because one song, Esperando.
Esperando, yes, waiting.
Cuando Cuba sea libre.
Right.
And I read it meant the day Cuba is free.
Right, it means waiting. Esperando means waiting for the day that Cuba is free. And it's not a political song because what it is a human song from a Cuban outside the island who still feels very Cuban and still feels very much tied to that culture. To them, a message saying, you know, we're with you, we think of you, we will celebrate with you on this day and we'll forget the past and we'll move forward into the future. It's just like a brother extending his hand to someone else.
Yeah, okay. But about, well, freedom of Cuba, do you see it happen in the near future?
I see change coming regardless, because the minute that Fidel Castro, who's the figurehead and really the center of that revolution, the minute he finally dies, he may be already, we may not know, but the minute he passes, it'll be a change. I'm not saying it's going to be like the Berlin Wall coming down, because I think that for them that wouldn't be good necessarily. I think it should be a slower transition so they can accustom themselves or acclimate themselves to all the choices that they will have and all the possibilities which they have no clue about. They've been stuck in one system for 50 years and very restricted as to information about the world. Although things leak through, but definitely they don't know what's going on anywhere else. So it's going to be it'll be a while before I think they can assimilate everything. But yes, undoubtedly there will be change, and hopefully in a good, peaceful way for them, and in the best way possible.
Is it true? I read this somewhere. Is your music being boycotted in Cuba?
Well, they don't play my music on the radio. They're not allowed, DJs, to play my music and announce my name. But they still do it. They still play it in the hotels. The people still hear it. They send it to each other. They share CDs, and or, you know, they know me very well there.
I was wondering, do you have in some way contact with your Cuban friends?
Well, I have a lot of contact with people that leave Cuba or that have visited or that go, mainly the people that left even recently. And I was joking that I found out from a guy this last week that when conga came out in Cuba, they even invented a dance called El Juanito, which means Juanito is like John in Spanish, which they got from the Americans that would dance Latin music a certain way, and they invented this whole dance around conga, and they loved it. They loved, and Mi Tierra, of course, was huge for all the people in Cuba there. So they're very well aware.
So you're hearing from,
Yes, no, I hear. I get a lot of feedback. And when I was at the I was at the UN in the 47th General Assembly back in 1993, I think it was. I was part of the diplomatic team. And, you know, Castro had specifically asked someone in his diplomatic team to get all my records. I don't know what he was going to do with them. If he was going to listen to them backwards to see if there were any messages, which they're not. I wish I would have done it. Like you put on conga and you hear, go beat up Fidel with a pair of maracas, something like that, I don't know. But, but he definitely knew of me, that's for sure.
Okay, okay. Yeah, about your last two albums, well, 90 Miles is clear, a bit you going back to your Cuban roots.
Yes.
Unwrapped was also, well, a sober album. Is it that the last few years, are you going back to your roots? Is it a...
Well, to me it's always been important because, you know what, I was telling a journalist, if you put on Primitive Love and Let It Loose, which are the albums that had Dr. Beat and Conga, if you listen to that record now, you will hear all these same things that you're hearing on the Cuban album, but mixed in with like, you know, really funky drum things that were happening at the time. So it's not that we've ever gone away from that. It's just that in certain ways, we've either used it more or less. Like on, there's a song called Love Toy that's a cha-cha, totally blatant cha-cha on Let It Loose. There's Surrender Paradise on Primitive Love that is the same rhythm as Esperando. So back then, what you heard was us bringing these rhythms to a mass pop market that we were fortunate enough to do. Now we can do just those legitimate rhythms without the mix because right now, I mean, musically, that's where we are. So we've always, all along, had that very much a part of our sound. Rhythm is Gonna Get You is you know, like totally Afro-Cuban percussion around a funk bass line and, you know, 2/4 beat. So now I focus more, you know, because I'm more adult and it's a different time, but it's still there. It's always been there from day one.
And you had an, well, you were on the base of the success of Jennifer Lopez and all the new generation.
Well, it was nice to somehow push the door open a little more. You know, the two men that are on my first single on No Llores, which are Feliciano and Santana, they opened that door worldwide for our sound before. Santana mixing it with rock element, and Feliciano doing, you know, Light My Fire, he had more bluesy and jazzy sound and the bolero sound. So each in their own right, but they definitely pushed that door open before we did. So maybe we pushed it a little more.
Okay.
And each one opens it a little more, like Shakira, Jennifer Lopez, you know, Ricky Martin. Yeah. They've all helped as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you very much.